swear you remember who you are. Over there tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Oh, that pulse bomb, you gotta watch it. Does it catch anyone? It gets rid of Clutch. Another crucial member of Classified is now down, but Chisakita comes alive.
That gets to the beat only on themselves. They're going to get the touch here. It will force overtime. It took a little long enough to have some help from the here, but they immediately lose their first. And the rest of their team guys already two. Make it three numbers out. The crackers are down. The PP Plunderers can taste it. They're going to lock.
363 regular season matches. Over 600 players. 92 teams, 4 skill divisions, all in the search of one title.
These 8 teams have poured their blood, sweat, tears, their very hearts and souls into getting to this point.
The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here.
A journey that's been filled with triumph, with loss, with the anticipated, and with the unexpected.
From dominant performances to nail-biting tiebreakers, and every player putting it all on the line.
We have our underdogs, who've come out of nowhere and taken everyone by surprise. We also have top teams from previous seasons, coming back and looking to rewrite their story. They're now here, hungrier than ever, trying to learn from past defeats and ascend to the throne.
For some, this is a chance to make history. For others, it's to make up for the past. To make up for you're getting so close, but failing to reach it.
4 teams who have constantly fought to be the best in the limelight. 4 teams who have battled through the darkest nights to reach the dawn.
This is it. The final stretch. The battle for the title of champion.
The stakes are high, the competition is fierce. This is where legends are made.
One last gauntlet remains, separating these 8 teams from calling themselves champions.
We originally started with 18 teams fighting in 3 groups, and now it has come down to 4, all rallying in this final fight to make it to the grand finals. But first, they must beat each other here. 2 unstoppable teams that have made amazing runs, and now they are going to go head to head. Now, this is going to be, in my opinion, an extremely exciting matchup, and of course, I cannot do it here alone. Joining me, of course, the lovely LiteRose. How are you doing today, and how excited are you for today's matchup?
I'm doing great. It's been a lovely day. We get to end it on some nice Overwatch. You mentioned how good this game is going to be. That's the hope for you and I. You have Dapper Dynasty, the 6th seed. They come in after an upset over La Esperanza, and now they go on to face Amnesia. It is a difficult task for sure. We can take a look at the bracket so we know that, yeah, where Dapper, where Amnesia, they all came from. And we can also take a look at the top of the bracket. You also did see Krakens, they had an upset as well, but it is really Dapper Dynasty who do find themselves the underdogs of the playoffs so far.
Yeah, definitely so. And as just a reminder as well, we are running back-to-back streams, or that's not quite the phrase. Simultaneous streams, that is the correct word. So we have the B stream going on for MI7 and Kraken, so you can watch 2 games of Overwatch at the same time. But you are right, Dapper does have a very particular style. This is a team that likes to lean a lot on that Sigma-like style. Amnesia could definitely run it as well, but for Dapper, this is a big specialty that they're hoping to be able to wield here, but the last time they had to wield it against Amnesia, it didn't particularly go well to them. It was a 3-0 in the play-ins. That is not the kind of display you want, and not the kind of thing you want to have in your mind going into this matchup.
The difficult part of that is that was not too long ago. You can't say, oh, it happened week 2, week 3. Was a balance patch, was 2 stages ago. No, it was very, very recent, so you don't actually have that much time to adapt. But at least you do have that experience of going against this team, knowing what they like to bring, what they don't like to bring, and you can really work your way around that. And it's up to Dapper Dynasty if they make those adaptations, whether or not they want to take this team all the way, because they barely escaped their game last week. And then the week before that, I mean, as long as they're getting the win, I don't really think they care how they get the win. But tonight, it is going to be very difficult to actually get that win, regardless of the score.
Oh, yes, 100%. Like, I have personally, throughout the season, gone against both these teams, and I got my butt whooped. These are 2 incredibly strong teams, and it should be a big clash here. But, of course, Amnesia being that higher-seeded team, they are going to get the first map selection for Control, and we're going to be heading over to the lovely Samoa. And I have seen quite a few teams since the introduction go over to this map. It's not necessarily a very familiar map, so this is a place that you can kind of go to if you want to run something that you have your own style on, that you have more experience on.
This map feels like it's a lot of variations of itself. Like you do have that volcano map, and you have that city center map that essentially are just that circular area. One's got that gigantic pillar in the middle that can really be the difference maker in a lot of these fights, and the other one just has a lot of gigantic walls that you can't find a good way to actually find yourself in the fight if you're not involved on the points. We'll have to see if there are any big changes once we go onto these 3 different points, but we're getting all ready. We're starting up on Samoa, and it is going to be that city center area of which we find ourselves first.
Yeah, and realistically, this should prefer to be the side of Dapper. I think this is the one map where they're going to find a lot of success on that Sigma comp. It can work on the others as well, but the way you're able to take high ground on this map, kind of loop around, there's that far top right high ground you can also go to if you really want to set up there. So Dapper is going to have a lot of opportunities, but it's really going to be the response from Amnesia that's going to be the difference maker. And right now, both teams tempting a very similar idea. We'll have to see what they really come out on, but Amnesia rocking something that's going to be a lot more brawling close up, and Dapper likely like they might play a little further range with this composition.
Keeping with the Symmetra, it is probably just a let's bring the Symmetra out, teleport out, and but Dapper Dynasty eventually they acquiesce. They go to the mirror, which probably will be where we'll end ourselves up. So now it's just going to be a test of who truly is better at these individual heroes, who's better at that coordination, and the Maywalls as well. When you bring her, it's going to be absolutely crucial to make sure you end up ahead.
Exactly right. Now, both teams going to rally for this position out the gate. Just going to be playing around that center pillar for the time being. Just going to try to peek away, find a good wall. For the time being, you are going to manage to force out Dapper, but Dakin is going to get rid of Dawes to start this one out. So you lose your Sigma, and immediately you're going to lose the ability to, like, really win this fight. Right now, your best priority is just to try to live with all members trying to get out. You see right there, not trying to get out on the side. They're going to be able to, so Amnesia should be able to get a quick reset here.
I loved the bait with the Maywall. You could tell that was how Dapper was. They backed off, and then boom, came the right hook straight through. There's no opportunity for Dawes to react, and now Amnesias have to come back a little bit down on ult charge, but Rocket is going to get that very, very quick. Maybe that amplification matrix can be the one thing that can win the fight.
Yeah, and look at that. The Immortality Field already having been used by Dapper, so nothing is going to be able to save them from this window from Rocket. So, going to take a ton of space over here on the left side, trying to make sure to keep everybody up the rock. Going to be hit, but Pomko going to bring it out just in time to survive, but unfortunately, going to be taken out after the fact regardless, and now things are going to even back up, but Dawes has found a second pick of their own. They're looking for a third. Now Amnesia taking back this fight. The last of Dapper just going to get out with their lives. Well, we see a little bit of stall there at the end from Poofa. Poofa trying to last as long as they possibly can. Get a good amount.
No way!
50-something%.
Okay. I for some reason, I thought that something was gonna go crazy there, and all right, Amnesia, they win the fight. They are now gonna start gaining up some of those ults, but Dapper Dynasty have 5 ults here. They got to use them well. You can already see one getting dedicated. Are they gonna decide to use any more, or is 2 gonna be enough here?
It depends if they're going to be able to cap without it, but Dapper, man, gotta make sure they don't go down here. The Flux going to come up in the air. He's going to catch a couple of members. The beat going to get invested in return, and now the counter Flux coming inbound. Poofa does have the beat. They're going to use it last second, and Pomko going to find that first pick. The freeze is actually going to find onto Pomko, though, but all the healing dumped into them on top of that. So now it's a 5v4 scenario. Dawes going to fall after the fact. Matson trying to see if they can find something getting out of there, but unfortunately, Fate has decided that is not the case. So Amnesia gonna match very similar on that percentage. We see that little stall from Noct there at the end. Dapper do use 4 ultimates, but Amnesia had to use 3 of their own, so honestly, it's a pretty good trade out.
I really liked the ult there from Poofa. You kind of wait to see how long until you can truly dedicate that beat, and you were able to give your healers and your DPS so much health, especially when you did have that Blizzard. Ooh. But Matson needs to be key here. This might be the fight ender if they don't take it away here. Oh my goodness, Poofa, that is so unfortunate. And now that fight is as good as over.
we're just back down to the stall, but this time Amnesia gonna shut down any kind of stall. So now that's an extremely quick fight, and Rocket has another amplification matrix coming online.
That's big too, because look at the percentage of Dapper Dynasty. I've got 83%. You play your cards right, that's another fight. Even if you lose here as Amnesia, you gather around quickly, make sure that everybody dies around each other, and you can try to initiate for another fight. But now, even if we start to brawl here, if Amnesia can start to drag it out, they should get themselves to 99% here. So they find themselves in the lead here, but what a wall! But the Immortality is going to be able to get him out. Ooh, almost gave it away there.
Yeah, and now Rocket having that window on top ready to go, just waiting for Dapper to start working their way in, and they're going to bring it up right now. Going to put in a ton of damage. Dapper gets super low, and is actually going to be taken out. Trying to make something happen with that overclock, but unfortunately going to be taken out. And now Pomku does have that freeze ready to go. Gonna drop it down for good measure, but unfortunately, nothing really going to be found from it. We see the last second touch is coming online. Poofa gonna try to stall for as long as they can, but Brian freezing them down, not giving them ability to. Dapperman gonna come back to try to stall out on the Doomfist, but unfortunately, it's just gonna be the touch and go here and there. And Dapper Dynasty not able to get back. Amnesia take that first round.
You know, sometimes when you make a really weird decision with your ult, you make the excuse, no, guys, it was a positioning ult. You don't understand. my high noon as Cassidy was clearly meant to happen that way. That's how I felt about Rocket's ult, but there was absolutely not an excuse for that. Like, there wasn't like, oh, this was totally meant to be positioning, guys. Like, it actually positioned Dapper Dynasty away from that entry point. And because of that, they didn't really have a way to equal up with each other, have an equal fight. And because of that, Amnesia was really able to split them right down the middle. You then saw Dawes and Brian. They were able to find a couple kills, and it just snowballs all the way from there. Amnesia maybe a little bit closer than they would have liked. I'm sure they would like to take this one very, very quickly. But I do think we are in for a brawl whether or not Amnesia is able to take this.
Yep, and again, Amnesia just rallying for position for the time being. He's going to take a little early position on the bridge, but Dawes is just taking a ton of damage, going to be forced out. A good rock onto Pumpko, but they are going to manage to stay up now, so Immortality Field going to be used on both sides. The Poofa going to be the first one to drop. Dapper going to lose a lot of their mobility, so now they just have to try to brawl it out right here and now, and unfortunately, they've already lost the major pieces to be able to do so. Dapperman going to try to survive, take someone with them if they can. They will take Dawes with them, so it is nice. You get that little reset, but Amnesia got to cap that point first.
I love just their ability to suck all of the Dapper Dynasty players in and then just push right back. It's like reserving all your energy for when you know your opponent is just a little bit too winded, just a little bit too far away to get healed, to get really what they need for the fight. It allows Amnesia to start getting percentage, and once again, Rocket has a big amplification matrix, and you don't even have to lose the fight here.
No, but we are seeing the aggression from Brian and he's pushing up a little bit. And for the time being, you are actually going to force them to split up a little bit. So now, if you can seclude one target, you could be able to get rid of somebody, and Taken ends up being the target, unfortunately. Dawes going to keep pushing through, trying to find another, but Dapperman going to even things back out, and the Flux is going to come online. Dawes trying to survive, but eventually going to be found. Dapperman has now found a second, make it a third, and now it's just the supports of Amnesia trying to stall for as long as they can on the point. Not going to last very long, though. Dapper going to be able to take this with about 40 or 54% in Amnesia's bank.
All right, maybe they extended a little bit too far there. Going into your opponent's area of the map, probably not going to be for the best. I think you do have to just take that one down to hubris if you're Amnesia, honestly. Just got a little bit too antsy. That man playing with fire a little bit, but they turned the Sigma around, and now that Blizzard should shred these opponents.
Dapperman manages to drop at the last second off of the edge to stay alive. But Amnesia, the unit that they are, they don't need Dawes to be able to push through all this. So they're in this 4v5 situations after the fact, and still right now, they're managing to hold that lead. Dapperman just going to bring it back to the point. Was to try to find Madsen on the side, super low, eventually going to be taken down. We get that trade back again. But right now, it's just the supports of Amnesia and Noctis Rocket that are just working their way around this map and pressuring everybody. So Dapper, again, going to get a very similar percentage. Still have a lot of ultimates, but Amnesia going to take that one back.
Last round was a really blow for blow type deal. We saw Dapper Dynasty and Amnesia trade the point a lot, but Amnesia just seems to be a little bit ahead. Not only did they get that initial take, their ults are just going to be a little bit ahead. And I think Dapper Dynasty can dedicate themselves, but you're also going to have Matson. You're going to have Rocket to immediately follow up any fight.
Yep, and that Flux going to come online. Has quite a few people. Going to have to use the beat to be able to stay alive. Taken is going to find Knock during that exchange, and Dawes in a really bad position, but Matson manages to find Puko in that situation, so now we're into 4v4, and this is going to be final fight territory. Matson has now found a second onto Pufa. Again, Dapper Dynasty losing all of that mobility. Dapperman not able to get the Flux out. Matson taking one out of the sky for good measure, and with 4 being taken out, Amnesia is going to take their map pick of Samoa 2-0.
Can split at the final fight. After getting these 2 opening picks, especially onto Dawes, who may have gotten just a little bit antsy at the end there. Positioning wasn't the best, but Dapper Dynasty just kind of split right when they needed to stay together. You saw the tanks really start to engage where they shouldn't, and Matson was just able to pick them off one at a time. It's a rough first map for Dapper Dynasty. You did see moments where they did start to shine, but I think Amnesia, like I said before that beginning of that last fight, they were just a little bit ahead of their opponents.
Yeah, unfortunately so, and like overall this ended up being a relatively even battle, but when it came down to these late round situations, we saw that Amnesia was able to get a lot more value, not just out of their ultimates, but just in that mid-fight value. Like we talked about how Matson was just finding people out of the air one by one, but as I kind of recalled before, Rocket and Noct just made their way around the map consistently and managed to take people out together. And that's the kind of fear you kind of have going up against this support duo that's able to just basically be a 2-person squad, just simply just keep hunting people down. So those weapons are pretty tough, but Dapper has proven that they do have a dog in the fight. So I don't know, it's up to them. They have their fate. They have the next map pick, but we'll see what that is in a minute. And actually, I'll question this. What is your prediction for the next map that they will pick? I'm curious.
It's hard to choose given just off of what we saw from that first map. I'm trying to... You know what's funny? I like, for some reason, every single hybrid map is just escaping my mind. I'm like, this is my time. I gotta think of a map. Nothing, just King's Row, and we are not going to King's Row. That would not be preferable with these type of comps that these teams are running. We could potentially see maybe a Midtown in there. I think that would be a good map for potentially that Sigma, that Sojourn, because you're able to alternate between the high ground and the low ground very, very easily. And I think I actually might be right here, Hunter, as we can take a look at what the map will be. Give me some claps. It will be Midtown, the one of like 2 hybrid maps that I remembered. I don't know how I forgot. It's literally like you're going to a test, you forget the everything that you studied the night before.
I understand that, but yeah, Midtown will be the pick. The other picks would have been Eichenwald and Hollywood. I think relatively the Sigma comp is going to work best on this map, and I don't imagine it's honestly going to change up much between these 2 teams unless we get any swap ups, which we don't know quite about yet. But honestly, we're likely just to see the same Sigma style comp. We might see a bit of tomfoolery at the very beginning. Some teams do like to set up TPs to try to get into that back left building. Some teams try to go far around the left side and flank that way, because running straight down that center sometimes is a bit of a death sentence.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's kind of like a death funnel sometimes. If we get a May and a Sojourn, it is a heavy risk to go straight down the middle because of how good Amnesia are, how isolating they can be. Is this going to be where we see Dapper Dynasty start to stray? Don't know if they're starting on the attack or the defense here, but wherever they are starting, it's not going to be a side swap. So we are going to see them on that defense if they can really hold out strong. See Dapper Dynasty start on the attack. If we can see Amnesia hold out strong, I am expecting that 2-0, but it's all really going to be about that support duo. If Amnesia can continue to split this team, there's really no answer for their woes.
Honestly, you're very correct about that. So, you kind of brought it before, like wondering if Dapper Dynasty is going to be able to, or is going to more so, stray away from that Sigma style. And honestly, for me, it's a bit of a toss-up. But I think coming out here on the attack, I think you still want to either start on that Sigma style comp and just try to play it the same way, or you try to get spicy with maybe the first push or maybe the second push as well if you're really feeling it. So I'm curious if it's going to be any different, but I would not be surprised if it's just the exact same mirror comp we just saw on Samoa.
We'll have to see. Get the pigeon with the pizza. That is a reference. I have not seen that one yet. The little pizza and the pigeon, but it's very, very cute. I would assume. Actually, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, knocked on the Iliari?
Iliari. I mean, if that is how Amnesia wants to play, they want to use the wall, they want to use the shield, I think Iliari can really get you some value, because you can place that totem in great areas, and there's no way for Dapper Dynasty to get to it. I mean, you look at the train, you either have to go down the left side, you have to go out the train, and every single one of those areas is going to be pretty devastating, because Amnesia is going to have a lot of these areas covered off with that Sojourn, with that Baptiste, with the Iliari. How are they going to respond to that Iliari? It's no longer a mirror matchup, just one slight difference, and it could be that thing that Dapper Dynasty maybe could exploit.
Yeah, because the thing is that Amnesia isn't a team that needs to be able to move around super fast around the map. They're kind of hoping to cut them off like this with that wall. Nobody going to go down quite yet, but Dawes is going to find Taken, so now Dapper is in a sitting duck position at the moment where they kind of just have to chill out here, try to find their way out when the opportunity is given. And actually, they're going to find Madsen. They get a little too aggro with that push, so things going back to that 4v4 situation. But now, once they are able to get their fifth back and ready to go, they should be able to push this, deliver a lot more pressure, as Dapperman going to bring a lot of pressure. The Rock not able to find any receipts, but you are still in a good situation. But Poofa dropping takes away your mobility, takes away a good source of your healing. Dawes already in and close to the flux as well, so they have a safety net just in case. As we're to see Thor invest into that window, but they need to be able to keep Dapperman up, but unfortunately that window just not going to find any dividends. The rest of Dapper Dynasty just have to back out.
I think that play, which initially started out as a gaping wound, you lose Taken Wall, it turns into something that can be healed with just a small bandage. You're immediately able to trade out a player on Amnesia, but it felt like they couldn't capitalize on it. It's the problem of being split. There's no focus, there's no central target that this team is going for, and it just feels like chaos, but Dapperman's able to push through wonderfully. Well, he does, but...
Well, yeah, it was a good push initially, but they did the window on top of it. Dawes has now found 3, by the way. You want to give him the 5K maybe? But I think Taken and Boofa have gotten out of there. And I don't know. This is a tough situation. I don't know how long... Oh, no. That is such a late pick.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I best... You're gonna be able to use your ultimates here, maybe get something done, but that's only to counter Amnesia. So I think you can really get something done with the Blizzard, you can really get something done with the Flux, because Amnesia have Sacrifice and ult that can give them long-term survivability. If they don't, though, it's over.
Yeah, Dapperman is going to manage to find Rocket, but there's a trade. Once again, Poofa going to be taken out, but Dapperman going to try to bring this team back from the depths. Dawes gets super low and gets taken out before the Flux goes into full effect, and now we see the clutch trying to come through for Knock. They have found one, looking for a second, but Pomko is the one that needs to be able to make this happen, and they're going to find that pick and start racking up some of that percentage. Now Amnesia have a tough choice to make on whether to recontest, but they do have the opportunity to here in a moment.
They did make a conscious decision, though, at the very beginning of this game, knowing that the Flux and the Blizzard were going to be a threat. Yeah, no, they're going to try to contest. They may even get a couple kills. It doesn't matter. The spawn point is literally right next to them. And I think Amnesia, they make the choice to go back over to that Lucio, onto the Mei, and we're actually still not on a mirror matchup because Dapperman decided to go in the Doomfist.
I kind of like it a little bit, but I imagine they're going to swap, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, there's a chance. They're kind of bidding right now, but they actually invested the freeze but Noct manages to find Pomko, and they're not going to be able to find anybody within this endeavor. Dapper Man getting super low on the Doomfist, eventually going to drop, so rest of Dapper needs to get out, and I really love Dapper Man on the Doomfist. I love me some Doomfist play, but you might just have to head back to the Sigma.
Okay, why would you ult if your tank was going to swap? That indicates that this team still isn't on the same page. You can tell Dapper Man was going to the spawn, or at least backing up, and now he just had to turn around, had to fight, and it was a losing fight. So now Dapper Dynasty, they don't have that Blizzard. Amnesia are going to be able to not only get the Mei ult of the Blizzard, they also have 2 others that they can rely on. And so far, Pufa does not have that beat drop that they can actually use. Dapper Dynasty needs to get a pick.
Yeah, and that Flux is going to take out Taken Wallet, unfortunately. Dapper Man likely to fall directly after. Matson just trying to look for that headshot, looking for it, hiding behind the wall. The Immortality Field being used. Matson getting very low. Does need a little bit of a pick-me-up, but Dapper Man dropping is going to pretty much silence that fight then and there. And right now, Amnesia just have this choke just on a hold right now. Dapper cannot make any progress.
You do have the beat drop. So you can use it for one of the 2 ults that Amnesia has, but what is the thing that gets you out of this choke point here? That's the question that has to be asked, because it is a very difficult thing. You essentially only have one area that you can entry from. Amnesia have that locked down. Matson is a great player that can go down, but they actually strike first and make sure that if they fall, it's going to at least be a direct trade.
Yeah, and you lose the only person, Puva, that had that beat ready to go, so now you just have to retreat and get out, and Dapper just not able to make a whole lot work here, and now you have to wonder how much that desperation is going to pop in. Are we potentially going to see a swap here at the end? Because right now, Amnesia showing no signs of faltering.
I think it's just their ability to work as a unit, work together.
What?
Blizzard goes through, should get the Sigma, and beat drop and Immortality Field to use. Look, it's a blow-for-blow battle that I think Dapper Dynasty may have.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of an over-investment from Amnesia, who had things really going as the Flux is going to be thrown in. Dapper getting super low. The Flux going to help find Pufa, so now things have even back up. But Pufa should be able to get back first despite dying later. And now we see Rocket trying to go to work, trying to keep up Dawson to the best of their ability, doing a fantastic job doing so, as is now taking Wallet, looking to find somebody with the overclock. Rocket gonna be the first to fall, trying to get a nice shot on Matson up top, and that should be a clear for Dapper Dynasty. Amnesia, we see these moments where they get a little too thirsty for the kills, and they just end up losing the fight.
I mean, there have been 2 out of 3 or 4 major times we've seen Amnesia take a blow that they've literally just shot themselves in the own foot. There's no reason that you really need to be that aggressive with your Blizzard, because you know you can bait Dapper Dynasty. And so now it's going to allow this cart to go underneath, of which Dapper Dynasty are going to be able to use their own Blizzard and get a pick for it.
I'm so surprised that Brian ended up getting caught with that Blizzard, because now that opens up the door for Dapper Dynasty, who originally looked like they didn't have a shot to get it to that bridge in the first place, and now, I don't know if they realized Noct was hitting the big old stall button. Noct is not going to get out, though, so I imagine Amnesia, they don't have the ultimates to use here. They're just going to have to back out, give Dapper point B, and Amnesia shouldn't have even let them get in the situation in the first place.
You can really only blame yourself in this specific instance. And Dapper Dynasty, they've got something going. They have a minute 20 of which they're going to be able to move this card. And they've got a Flux that they can use without any real opposition ult. I mean, a Blizzard can be used as like a counter-offensive, but that's really only change at best. It's not really going to heal that same problem. When is that going to be dedicated, though? Dapper Dynasty, they decide to back up, and there's that Flux.
Yep, you're going to find a couple people on the side. Nobody should drop from this, as the Immortality Field going to be invested. The freeze on top of it, though, and Dapper Man is going to be mega deep into this right now. They don't have the feeling to be able to sustain, and now it is just a 4v5 battle right now. Eventually, you'll be taken out one by one. Taking that wallet, he's going to manage to find one on their way out, though, so if these two can survive... Oh, Taken. No! They managed to get out! That's incredible! Oh, my goodness.
And there's yet another iteration of making yourself look vulnerable and then coming back with that counter-offensive. They did not have a defensive ult, so they really relied on that immortality field and then used the Blizzard to go back. Dapper Man is just shredded. No way he lives there.
No, that's unfortunate. So right now, Poofa might have to use this beat just to prolong the fight long enough for Dapperman to be able to get back. And there it comes right there. Gonna find 3 members. Dapperman gonna come back on that Doomfist. Has to get back quick enough, though, as the Flux gonna come up in the air. Gonna catch 2. 1 is taken out. 2 is taken out. You see Taken trying to bring some offensive from the high ground, but all the damage has been done. Amnesia just hitting the last couple Qs for fun, and Dapper Dynasty do manage to get it to that very first corner on second point. It's a decent amount of percentage, or a decent amount of mileage, considering how things were going during the first half of their engagements.
Here's the time where you can make Amnesia pay for that, though.
Yes.
They should not have let Dapper Dynasty get to the second point. Maybe not even actually taking the cart for the first time. However, sides have changed. This momentum has been halted. And now here's the time where we can really see Dapper Dynasty actually start to make their name known. Because I'm going to be honest, I feel like every time they've been able to scrape away a win, half of that has come down to Amnesia's own hubris. They haven't been able to defiantly win these fights, feel like they are the team in control, but they can do that on this defensive side, keep the exact same comp that we've seen the entire time, and make sure that Taken Wallet does not get taken out too early, because I fear that that is a problem that Amnesia can really leap on.
Yeah, I've kind of said it before that this Sigma style is the specialty of Dapper Dynasty. From like everything I've seen, like this is their primary comp. They run this 80-90% of the time because it is 100% what they are best at. And they've proven that they can win a good chunk of these fights. But Amnesia has proven a little bit more that they just have so much versatility. Like, remember, this is the squad that has a ton of All-Stars this year. MVP coach, like this is a super stacked squad. They're second seed for a reason. And yeah, they're gonna take the loop around here. This is a very unique route.
They're gonna TP very, very far. I'm assuming up to the second floor, potentially. That is why they bring the Sim. They have to give room for the actual Sim to put down the TP, or they just use it for the shredding power that beam has, and you can tell Dapper Dynasty were not ready for this at all.
Yeah, I think the initial plan was the TP, and now they have it, so they are going to go up to that, but their own wall stops them for a moment, so now they're going to try to set it up again. Take 2, it is going to be set up, everyone's going to make it this time around, but Message not going to make it! And they're going to be hunted down, and now, unfortunately, Amnesia going to be in a very weird situation where they're going to be able to kind of hold up in there, because I don't think Dapper has a big ability to push.
Wait for reinforcements.
Literally, they're just going to camp out for a minute.
You can't enter. Like, oh, what are you doing? What? Noct was going for the taxi! They would have either all had to teleport back. You cannot send Noct all down by themselves. Dapper Man, surely you don't fall for the trap! They turn around with an ult of their own, trying to turn the tables against them, and they're gonna be able to get the kill. Oh my goodness.
That's absolutely crazy to me. Noct forgot they were camping up top. Noct forgot to grab the firewood and realized that there were bears waiting outside the campfire. Unfortunate situation, and we kind of saw, like, Amnesia, we talked about before, how they kind of threw away a couple of their own fights. Dapper was extremely close to doing the exact same thing.
Like, it's a very unique choice to kind of hold out, but you have the Symmetra. Use the teleport back. Go for a reset. Or at least use it so that Madsen can join you up to... It's just a lot of time wasted, and now Taken Wallet falls, but there is a trade.
Yeah, and Pomko is actually going to invest that freeze, but it got eaten by Dawes. So now that's your strongest ultimate you had left down the drain. And now Dawes is going to have a free flux because guess what? They just got rocked a second ago. If Dawes uses this in the next 4 or 5 seconds, it's going to be absolutely free. And it's going to catch 3 different members. So much damage being done. But the beat going to be used after the fact, so they're going to be able to sustain for a very long time. And Amnesia needs to use the beat, needs to be able to find another pick in this fight, but Dawes is going to be taken out first, and the beat comes in after the fact. They're going to try to fight the 4v1 without their Sigma. I don't think this is going to be doable for them right now. Amnesia just kind of playing a little further back, just trying to survive and try to hold on to space at the same time, and Taken needs to be very careful not to be taken out, as Dawes gonna be back here in a moment.
They gotta crash. You can't let Amnesia just take these high grounds, take these areas without some support, and that's what needs to happen. You need to force Madsen back. You need to force Rocket back and establish your dominance, and I think that's what's happening a little bit later than I would have liked, but I think that actually benefits Dapper Dynasty more than it does Amnesia, as we're going very close to last fight territory, and I do think Dapper Dynasty have the ult advantage with that Flux.
Yeah, we're seeing the aggression come through. The Flux gonna come online. Gonna find quite a few people. Immortality Field going to be used. Madsen is gonna find the first pick, and unfortunately, Dapper Man in a really bad position, just gonna be sectioned off for the rest of the team. The rest of the team is going to fall directly after the fact. Dapper managed to force it so far, basically to overtime, but I don't think Dapper Dynasty is gonna be able to be, in a sense, to be able to get back. So just gonna have to give up first point here. But hey, they pushed them to that overtime, so now Dapper has the opportunity to do the exact same thing that Amnesia did to them on this first choke.
They were also able to keep Sojourn's ultimate. They're going to have the Blizzard online as well. I think it's just really about time management. Nox does not have that ability online. It's really just Rocket who's dedicating it now after Dapper Dynasty is directly in their face.
Yeah, you need to get rid of Dawes right now. They're just sitting in the center of your team, and they actually let Dawes go for the moment, but Dawes is going to be sectioned off, eventually going to be taken out. Madsen, nice little shot to the head to finish them off. So now Amnesia, they're getting a bit of taste of their own medicine, and honestly, Dapper Dynasty can probably hold on to this. It's really going to come down to, do they make the same mistake that Amnesia made on their own defense?
It's gonna be hard to make a similar mistake because you only have Taken Wallet, who's going to be in the same position that Madsen was, and really nothing else. You want to play back. You want Amnesia to come to you so you can potentially build that Lucio ultimate. So and you can just have Taken Wallet absolutely rush you.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of damage. Not down quite yet. Dawes going to invest heavy on this, trying to get them taken out. And the beat going to have to be used to make sure that everybody stays alive. In fact, it's going to be used on both sides right now. There's no ultimates available, but Dawes going to be the first one to drop. And Madsen wants to be able to try to bring this one back, whether in such a bad position. But speaking of bad positions, poor Dapper Man in such a bad situation, but still Taken Wallet has found two of their own, looking for a third. We see that little bit of stall coming through. Noct needs to try to get out with their life. Same for Rocket, but they should be able to reset a Dapper. Need to pull back a little bit.
Oh, I was audibly saying, turn around, turn around, go back. Don't do what Amnesia did. You've got Dapper Man and the Flux, and you have a lot of time. Like, there is no way that Amnesia is going to be able to get it with time, especially with the ultimates dedicated.
Yeah, and Madsen ends up going down anyway. The Immortality Field thrown out, and now Taken has found a second of their own, and they're just coming down to these last couple of members of Amnesia. Noct really needs to get out of here without dying, or needs to die quickly. So Amnesia will have one more touch, but they're gonna have to run right into a freeze in a window. That is going to be rough.
I'm trying to think of a way that you can get around both of those. Immortality Field has to be amazing. Madsen has to be key, potentially with the window that Rocket had, but the Blizzard goes out. It should be able to at least catch one, and now Rocket falls. Down goes healing. Down goes the fight, in my opinion.
Oh, man. Yeah, that fight's pretty much down the drain right now. You see Madsen get taken out from the backside. Noct does manage to find the pick onto 4, but with this last pick onto Noct, that is the way to secure Dapper Dynasty the map. They're going to tie things up with a little victory feat there at the very end. Dapper Dynasty take advantage of the mistakes made by Amnesia and will tie up the series.
That is Amnesia. Like, realistically, they should have not gotten past actually where Amnesia was held, but because Amnesia did push just a little bit too far, Dapper Dynasty was then starting to get that car rolling, was able to get it through the car wash, and now we are all tied up. We get these match replays. We get to see that nice play that I love from Amnesia. They use that counteroffensive, use that Immortality Field. They're able to get a couple kill of their own, stop the cart right where it was. Not that it mattered anyway, because Amnesia did not even get to that second checkpoint. But we've got a nice little game on our hands as we see Madsen just get left out and then Noct go back for the taxi. Both of which we were kind of yelling at our screens.
Yeah, I feel like both teams made some, like, honestly some unfortunate mistakes during this, but it just comes down to the fact that Amnesia ended up making more mistakes. Like, overall, I think they were playing this competition slightly better, but some of the mistakes they made were far more brutal than the ones that Dapper Dynasty were making. Like, Dapper Dynasty sometimes is, oh, we use ultimates a little late. Like, okay, that happens. That's just, you're in the heat of the moment, it happens. But when you end up sending someone out, like not going for that taxi and being caught out, getting far too aggressive, basically like pushing somebody's spawn, like, you get punished for that kind of stuff in this division. That's going to happen, and unfortunately, Amnesia has learned that price the very hard way.
As we finish everything up, that third map is going to be interesting because that's where we get to our point where a team starts to take a lead. First it was Amnesia, Dapper Dynasty, they immediately swing back with a nice little left hook of their own. Amnesia, though, is kind of the name you need to keep in your mouth because we've said it over and over again. It was their decisions, it was their mistakes that allowed Dapper Dynasty to get past that second checkpoint and ultimately win the map because their defense was able to hold strong. And as we go into a Flashpoint map, whether it's Sorvasa, whether it's New Junk City, I think it's really going to impact you whether you use an ultimate too late, whether or not there is a player that is left straggling, because the spawn points and the walk back to that point is absolutely going to light you on fire if you let it happen on Flashpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And while we do know that I do love me some New Junk City, but we do know the more popular map is Sorvasa, and that is exactly where we're going for the third round. And I'm looking at my calculations here, these two actually played this map in their previous matchup in the play-ins, and Amnesia ended up taking it 3-2. So it was very close last time. There's a good chance it's close again because I'm going to be a broken record for the rest of this match. We're going to see the Sigma style comp again, especially from Dapper Dynasty. They're going to run it with Pufa on that Lucio. They're going to try to run down Amnesia. And the question is Amnesia going to stick with that same exact style? I think they should, but I think they've shown so far that they have the, I'll say, the ability to flex around if need be. But if you've proven that you're a bit better at this composition and you just clean up the mistakes, I don't see the reason to switch off of that mirror.
Yeah, I think Amnesia are the superior ones here. Dapper Dynasty, their positioning has really, really killed them. On that first map, a little bit on their offensive on the second map. And now on Sorvasa, I mean, I talked about what happens if you stray just a little bit too far, if you use your ultimate. Amnesia can absolutely punish their opponents for that, but adaptation is definitely possible. If Dapper Dynasty may have cleaned things up in that second map, they could have needed a warm-up in that first map. Who knows? If they fix that, I do think that they are better than their opponents, but it is an if. It doesn't come without that adaptation coming, and so far there hasn't been a need for that adaptation. I think on that second map, it really was just Amnesia trying the same thing over and over, it failing, them getting caught out. Here is where the time where you really need to change, otherwise you're gonna get left by the wayside.
Yeah, that's exactly going to be the case. And I think a lot of the momentum is going to be found from this very first fight, because Flashpoint can be a very...
works, yeah.
Yes, it is a very quick... It can be very quick if you let it get away from you. Like, these points, they tick up. I don't know the exact number in my head, but, like, it's well under, like, 2 minutes for one to tick up from 0 to 100. So these are going to be very, very quick engagements. I want to see Dapper Dynasty continue to get aggressive, but I don't want to see them continue to stray off during the mid-fight. Like, this is what a lot of... This isn't just, like, exclusive to Dapper. A lot of the teams that I've managed to play against and kind of be able to watch throughout these last 3 months are in these situations where they just simply split off in the mid-fight. They lose their direction. They lose the central target that their IGL, their in-game leader, is trying to call out. So as long as Dapper can stay focused, they do have a dog in this fight. But Amnesia, obviously, again, proving that they are just a bit better at this comp. If they can keep those mistakes from happening, they have a really, really good shot here. Just, this is not the map where you want to get yourself shot in the foot.
Yeah, it's like ooh, is that a pretty butterfly over there? I wanna go chase it.
Ooh.
that can't happen. That can't happen. Also, chat, they are mirrored. I saw that in chat. 4, you're mirrored again. That's should not be a shock. That's kind of what happened for the previous 2 maps, and we talked about its positioning. positioning is really going to be the key factor as we get initiating. Are Amnesia going to pull the same old try to bait them and then push forward? We'll have to see.
Yep, both teams rallying for position. Dapper, though, is going to manage to take over the high ground for the time being before dropping. Means it's going to be really tough to win this fight. Dapper is going to find that first tick, though, to start getting the progression going. So right now, this is going to be a really tough situation. You're just losing people one by one. It's just going to be the stall there at the very end. I like that Dapper, like, they win that initial struggle. They get to the point first, but unfortunately, I think they went there slightly too quick and end up leaving Dapperman in a weird position.
And sometimes that's just the unfortunate effect of the Maywall, of the Sigma Rock and Shield, is that you can really get caught out, but also that does give credence to Dapper just getting a little bit too far away. Dapperman being a little bit far from where those heals need to be. But now as we start to initiate, the Maywall is off, shouldn't be too damaging. Brian is forced to actually use that ice block, but I think Rocket already having that Amp Matrix is going to be killer to this push.
Yeah, and Dapper just has to wait it out, because this is final fight regardless. You're already past the 60% marker. You just wait out the window. That's what they're going to do. So now they're going to push back up to this high ground. They have still a good amount of time to touch this point, but they're going to take the aggression. Brian got rocked into the wall with a window. There was a 0% chance of survival. And now Dapper Dynasty going to be able to take this point without using any further ultimates. They will, though, be able to get that up to the 99%. So Amnesia, Madsen trying to get out, but going to be taken out late. So now Dapper Dynasty only going to have to use the window to win that fight. So this next fight, I feel like a lot of ults are going to be used.
Do you want to use your ult as Taken Wallet? That's the only real difference that you have over your opponent. So you can maybe bring it out, force either the flux, force either the sound barrier to come out, or do you save it? Wait until the other one, and you get Rocket before the beat or ammo goes off. Fight winning right there. Down goes a massive source of heals.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we need to see from this team. They all came together on one target, rising up through the air, got them before they could use anything, and now Taken Wallet actually going to invest with the overclock as well. They need to find somebody else with this to make it mean something. And Dawes is definitely a perfect target. This first point is going to go over to Dapper Dynasty. And now they're going to be in a unique situation here where there is a good chance they will be able to set up on the next point first. But honestly, it just depends where it's going to be.
I know hindsight is 20/20, but I still feel like Taken Wallet should not have used that ultimate. I think Amnesia's going to have essentially an entire ult advantage with that flux that they have. You're going to force Poofa to use the sound barrier, of which you can follow up with a blizzard and get yourself something onto the point, because Dapper Dynasty should be able to grab themselves a foothold. They have their own blizzard if they truly do want to engage that quickly. But they're just going to back off, give Amnesia a lot of point for no. What are you doing, baby girl?
That's an unfortunate situation. I hope we get the replay earlier on. Whenever you guys can set up that replay, it'd be deeply
How did that
appreciated.
happen?
I think they just simply slid off the rock the wrong way. That's the only thing I can imagine.
Too much fun jumping.
Apparently. That's killer right there. And you use the freeze too. That's so unfortunate.
Things were going so well too. I think 4 dies, you immediately say no. We're not using this blizzard. Dry fight. We know it's lost because our main source of heals is down. Only thing, you had Amnesia use their blizzard as well. Flux is going to be dedicated. Dawes should slam down, but Poofa still has that sound barrier. But is that Amp Matrix the real difference between everything?
Well, both windows are going to be used for this engagement. And not found a 2-game boom! Not coming clean things up here. And now that really should be it for Dapper Dynasty. Poofa's on the outside.
Hit him! Hit him!
I love the 1v1.
Wow.
And that's going to spell the end of that point. Amnesia should take this without any further contestment. And now Dapper Dynasty. Oh boy, that was a very rough point, unfortunately.
It feels like everything that could have gone wrong did. You have 4 going away immediately in that first fight. Noct is able to get I think a triple boop by the end, cleaning up on another player, very impressive from them, especially because they're able to hold on to that sound barrier. They don't have to dedicate anything beyond that amp matrix, which, funny enough, is kind of the positioning thing that I mentioned earlier. Literally gives it right to Noct, who's able to swing through, get that boop, and secure the point for Amnesia, who aren't going to be the first ones to engage. In Dapper Dynasty, they took the time to get onto this high ground and make sure that maybe they can get this May wall to great usage.
Yeah, the Flux gonna get used. It's gonna find one person, just trying to make sure they don't get rocked, and they are gonna force out the beat, so ends up being a pretty decent exchange. But now it's really gonna come down to the mid fight, because right now there's no ultimates online anywhere. So this need to come together on one target together. A lot of people are low, and Taking Wall gonna find the first one on to knock the freeze. Eventually gonna be brought up. But is the damage going to be done by the freeze? Yes, it will be! Madsen finds the 4K! Poofa trying to make it to the point. Rocket takes away the 5K, but still a clutch freeze from Brian to be able to get that one back.
You could see the disjointedness with Dapper Dynasty. Dapperman really wanted Brian. Really felt like that was the person they should go for. But meanwhile, other Dapper Dynasty felt like it was better to go for Dawes. It was better to maybe try to take out Rocket. And from then, Brian was still able to survive, even though they were cut off from the rest of their team. Turning around, there's a team right next to you, but Dapper Dynasty just completely ignore that, go into their high ground, and now they engage onto the point.
Yeah, and the Flux, and we're just see Taken barely get out of that as well. And now the freeze going to come online onto Amnesia.
Oh my
And we're to see that freeze come up, but Madsen's found the one. They're looking for another. They found the second. They found the third. The damage is being done. And now it's just Dapperman and Taken on the point. It's a 3v2 situation, and just all the healing is there. It's going to be impossible to survive as Madsen secludes themselves. The 5K Madsen on fire on Suravasa.
I felt fear. You had the Amp Matrix combined with the ultimate, and nobody was pressuring Madsen. They had a Baptiste behind them. They had the Sigma to be in front of them. Like, it was free. And they clean it up. Dapper Dynasty had a good first point, but ever since then, it has just not found its way back to originally where they won. But Taken Wallet takes down Brian. That could be the pick that they need. Or, back up, engage on the point. Make sure you start getting that percentage, but also, don't let Amnesia get too comfortable here.
Yeah,
Also
it might
hurts.
Yeah, it might only be the one pick, but that's honestly all you need in that scenario to be able to cap that point first. But I imagine this fight's going to get very aggressive out the gate here. Dawes just waiting for that right moment to try to beat out that wall as the Flux going to be used. A lot of people caught. He's still going to use that beat, and now they just have to be able to survive. Dawes getting brought down low, but Dapperman in the same situation as the freeze is going to be brought out from the side of Brian, who has found multiple members again. Taken Wall has found one of their own, but it's Madsen back out on the scene. Rocket there to help things out, and it's Amnesia that's slowly getting the grip on this fight. Gonna pressure onto the point. We see the last bit of stall coming through from Taken Wallet. You see 4 there on the point as well. Gonna secure about 55, 56%. Give them the 57, why not? Amnesia play their cards, they play it out a little longer, and it ends up working out for them.
The isolation from Amnesia is still very good. The way they're able to drag around Dapperman is very impressive. Why did we ult, Brian? Did we really? It was a 5v3. I think you're DCC. I don't know.
I think it was worth it in the moment. It was a weird situation. You want to make sure you secure the fight. Yeah. Like, if they lose that fight, there's a good chance that they just overall end up losing.
But it was a 5v3. Like, they should win it.
True, but you never know. When you have someone like Madsen who's still alive, I would be scared not to use my ultimate, but we're going to see the window be used in a 5v5, and Madsen, oh, here they go again, back on the scene. They found the one. Dapperman, literally one health. Rocket going to find that pick, and now Dapper Dynasty is in such a rough situation. 75% and counting. Goofa is likely the only one that's going to get a legitimate touch on this point, if they can even get around.
I just think Madsen was absolutely free to do whatever they wanted. There was no pressure on them because Dawes and the rest were doing such a good job at actually keeping them away. That is going to be Suravasa. Early on, Dapper Dynasty did a great job at putting themselves in front getting those early picks ever since that second map. I feel like, I don't want to say 4 was the curse, but she fell off the map. Nothing went right since then.
That 2K boop as well. That was devastating for
I
them.
mean, that's just following the curse. Like, next fight after.
Yeah, like, and I do want to see through these replays here in a moment if we do get there. I want to see what happened to Forrest. Kind of see this little highlight for the time being. Dapper, like you said, started out pretty strong overall, and this is what I saw overall from these teams as things went on. Amnesia initially would lose a lot of people in the very beginning of these fights, but when I look over at Dapper Dynasty, they're a team that as the fight kept going on, it feels like they got worse and worse. Their target focus kind of dropped off, while Amnesia, when you have people in the clutch like Madsen, like Brian, like Rocket, that are able to survive for a very long time like that. Despite Brian dying, they freeze 3 targets, and Madsen literally just has a day at the shooting range. Like, that's incredible to see from this team, who clearly is super strong in these long-term engagements.
Let's get a second look at that. Madsen, hearing the wonderful sounds that is just right-clicking on the opponent, and here's just that play. Do you see what I mean? Nothing here. There's a window. There is a ulting Sojourn who is amazing.
3.
Like, you don't even need to say it, because Sojourn will audibly call it out every single time, literally punching how badly Dapper Dynasty went down. Yeah, I think the cleanup as well just could not stop Madsen in this, honestly.
No, honestly, like, it's honestly such an incredible display from them, and we saw glimpses of it before, like back on something like Samoa for certain, but like watching the Sojourn battle, like it's very clear that we do see quite the advantage come through somebody like Madsen. And Taken Wall, you know, no pun intended, can't take anything away from them. They have performed pretty well so far, but when you have that from Madsen, who can perform these 4K, these 5Ks, almost consistently, honestly, especially once we got past the first point, that's just such an amazing thing to have. And right now, Amnesia, they do have quite a bit of momentum, but Dapper does have the next pick, and I don't know. Dapper, I don't mean to prolong this for too long, but Dapper just kind of felt like they fell apart as things just kept going on longer and longer, and that's very worrisome when you're in a series that can go on for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, they do have halftime. They've got a small amount of time to maybe see if they can figure things out. And at the end of it, will things have changed? We will see you right after the break once halftime is over with more Tranquility action.
Over till tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Over till tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Remember who you are. Overthink tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Overthink tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Remember who you are.
A back and forth battle so far between the semi-finalist teams, but Amnesia currently takes the advantage 2-1 after completing Saravasa, and now it's Dapper's time once more to try to respond against the number 2 seed, who so far has taken the specialty cup of Dapper Dynasty and thrown it back in their face. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good halftime. Hope you grabbed some water. Maybe you grabbed yourself a snack. Maybe you ordered some food. Just make sure you order me some too, because, you know, I deserve it.
Go hungry in the casting booth.
I get a little hungry sometimes, but this has been a pretty back and forth series thus far, and it's really just been this sort of dominance of Amnesia, but on top of that, also the mistakes that they've made along the way that have given Dapper Dynasty this opportunity to still be in this, because if we kind of think about it, and if, you know, hindsight 2020, Dapper really should be down 3-0 right now if not for the mistakes made on Midtown. So Dapper does have more of a cushion. So I'm curious what they're going to do with this cushion, because it takes a little bit of pressure off, but still, it's not good to be down at this point in the series.
Yeah, it's a small bit of hope. You don't really want your opponent to have the chance of any way back into the series. Looking at the maps, though, where we're heading in our 4th map of the night, it's gonna be Coliseum. Odds are we're still gonna see that Sigma mirror that we've seen throughout the entire night, less maybe an Iliari that Amnesia like to bring on that first point of Midtown, which may or may not have been successful. But I think when it comes to the mirror, you and I have fully agreed they seem to have it over this Dapper Dynasty team, especially the longer fights go on. And I think when you go on to push, these fights can go very, very long, and that does give the advantage on over to Amnesia.
Yeah, it definitely can. So again, it's going to be down to Dapper Dynasty to be able to control the pace, because we saw this earlier on Saravasa, especially that very first half, where they were the one normally aggressing with the fights. They were taking those fights first, and more often than not, they were taking the wins as well. And even if they didn't, they were still managing to pick off a good number of Amnesias. So I'm curious what we're going to see here, because this is Coliseum is, I feel like it's one of those maps where you can pull out kind of strange things. Again, I don't think we're really going to see anything other than the Sigma mirror, but I don't know. You kind of talked about the where kind of like eventually the last straw. You know, it's going to break the. You know what? I'm terrible at I'm
the
terrible
straw
with
that breaks the camel's back.
There we go.
I don't think that's
I'm
an
gonna write
analogy.
that one down.
What is that?
There's a term for it. Maybe not an analogy, but you know what isn't an analogy? This this we're looking at the
an
exact
idiom.
same thing. It is. Oh, okay. I am going to write that word down.
It's like that's I guess that's what sayings are. It's like what's another idiom?
Grass is greener on the other side.
I think that cat got your tongue. That's like
okay.
stuff that means something, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm happy we got an English lesson as
go.
we go into Coliseum. Oh, yeah, nothing different. Like, it's gonna be the same thing. It's not surprising in the slightest. I just want Dapper to take the aggression on this fight. That's all I really want from Dapper right now. They're playing this fine, but they need to take the aggression first. They need to take the space first. Amnesia gonna just poke away for the time being. They realize that they can wait until this point unlocks to be able to deliver a whole lot of pressure, as Dapper is the team that is currently backing out a little bit. And Amnesia gonna claim that control to start things out here. Amnesia gonna get walled off temporarily, and Dapper man is just in super deep. And that traded is gonna be all right for the time being, but right now, the last thing you want to lose is Dapper man. Sigma being their specialty as well. Like, that's the last thing you want to see happen is that wall gonna come through, gonna force them to come to the outside for the time being. Pomko trying to find something with the headshot, but nothing there quite yet, as they just have to wait for both Sigmas to come by. And right now, this is just a day at the shooting range, but nobody is getting taken down quite yet.
Yeah, we've seen some Maywalls. Brian has tried to do that, and they left just a little bit of a corner, as now we're fully back to normal. Both Sigmas, Brian right clicks. It is immediately traded out by Madsen, but I think Amnesia might be able to get an advantage with Dapper killing themselves somehow.
Yeah, I think they were just super low. They tried to break him off the rock. It was literally the only thing they had left in their arsenal. And you know what? Fair enough. But you know what? That's not very fair, not very fun. Losing Poofa very late into the fight. So now, Dapper, not only do you have to reset even longer, before actually ended up using their window during that as well. So now you're not going to have that, and Rocket's going to have it. That's not a good situation at all.
Wow, what's that? 4 ultimates compared to none? Maybe one coming up for Pomku? I don't think Poofa's gonna have that in time, and just punishing for, just like back on Midtown, knocked forward, they both fall, and now it's just gonna be cleaning it up.
The scary part about this is they only have to use the one ultimate from that. Just the one. And honestly, this cart, or this bot, should have already been there. They did get off of it a couple times, so it's going to get 50 meters of counting. Dapper, they need to win this next fight. Like, it is super imperative they win this next fight. They have to, honestly.
Are they gonna get to butt scratch mode? You're a couple meters away. They can contest, and they
the
are.
1v1?
Oh!
It's the 1v1 against Nox! That's incredible, and that's going to basically do it right then and there. Dapper gonna find 2 of their own. I was a little nervous because I saw the majority of Dapper like try to fight like away from the bot, and I thought they were getting it for free, but Poofa literally came in with the assassination onto Nox.
Unironically, that won them the fight. Because you don't have Noct, which means you don't have the B. Poofa MVP, straight up. Like, the guts it took to engage on that by yourself and to take out Noct that quickly. It's enjoyable, but it is also very, very impressive because you're turning this thing around really quickly. But this is scary, Madsen. Oh, no, man.
Madsen has already found one, looking to find Poofa on the side, but might not need any more than that. As again, they're just going to invest the late ultimate. Nobody is going to be found. Taken does manage to find Dawes before being taken out by Madsen. Madsen going to help out with Poofa. And that's another unfortunate scenario where an ultimate gets used late and provides absolutely 0 value.
Every time Dapper Dynasty are able to get like 1 foot in the door, a door closes even harder. They hurt themselves when they should be at least somewhat in the fight. Like, you still should have Pomku's ultimate, which should be, which should force Noct to bring out that sound barrier. But instead, you're just going to have to use that immortality field and that sound barrier. So at least they're even in that regard.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose anybody at this point. Now, you've invested. You need to win this fight. There's a lot of people put together. Noct does have the beat, though. They have the chance to use it, but they're going to hold on to it for the time being. Wait for a more desperate situation. Potentially wait until Taken Wallet eventually uses that overclock and just get super aggressive with the beat in return, as it is going to come out. Taken Wallet looking for somebody. A lot of people in a pocket together, and Dapper's going to get frozen. Poofa, too. they're both going to end up dropping, but Pufa going to try to escape getting super low, but it's Pufa that's actually going to drop instead. And now, with all these late picks on the Dapper Dynasty, even with this last-minute assault from 4, Amnesia should be able to initiate the butt scratch here.
At least Pufa stopped that. Like, I say at least as if they didn't do a lot in that fight. Just the cherry on top for everything there.
Oh boy.
You're gonna have some time wasted. And now Rocket is gonna use that to shred the wall, force Dapper Dynasty to either go all the way back, which is really gonna hurt them considering the robot is now starting to push around the corner, which then you gotta wait for it to go fully up top, and then it just gets worse and worse as the lead gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and the thing with Dapper Dynasty is they have to push past all the members of Amnesia to currently stop this cart. Because he's going around that back corner and taking wall, gonna get Rock. It's not gonna hit Dapper as they're gonna manage to find Matson with the help of that flux, but it's coming back the other way. Taking wall, going up in the air with a couple others, going to be taken out, not able to make it down to the safety of the Immortality Field. So now, 4 with a tough choice to make whether or not to invest the window, and now it's a 3v4, and unfortunately Dapper Dynasty pulling apart at the seams. 4 though does manage to find Rocket. Even if 4 goes down here, that's honestly a massive pick. So now you take away the main heals of Amnesia, you should be able to either force them out of here or be able to take a 5v4 fight.
I don't think it's really that big of a deal for Amnesia, funny enough. They have
Not much though.
at least 110 meters. That is
Yes.
100 more than your opponent. So not only do Dapper Dynasty have to pull the card all the way back to the middle, which means going 100 meters, they have to push it all the way to 116 meters. And if you can continue to waste time, that you continue to use ultimates, which it seems Amnesia are perfectly doing, it's extremely difficult for Dapper Dynasty to even find a way back in. And Brian just keeps putting the hurt on this team.
Yeah, we saw a lot of survivability from this team, honestly. The free's going to come through. Dawes is going to get hit. Dawes is going to get mega low, but it's not going to be taken out. And Amnesia, honestly, they are on, like, Dapper Dynasty is on death's door as we speak. We see the swap up, the desperation finally kicking in against this team. So this should be a quick engagement. We have to, both windows are going to come out. Dapper Man going to get super low already. Still has that shout, but not able to use it. It's taken wallet. He's going to hit knocked with it. So not able to do anything more. We're in a 4v4 scenario. Taking Wallet needs to try to find one other person with this if they want to be able to reliably be able to take this fight. But instead it's Masson on the other side. Going to use the overclock in return. But Pomko going to be found out. Now Taking Wallet needs to try to escape, but Masson picks them out of the air. Dapperman, last one standing on the point, trying to survive. A lot of survivability, especially when 4 manages to getting themselves back into the fight with the Immortality Field. But this Flux is going to potentially be the death spike as people just try to go on the point one by one. But it's just staggering at this point. Amnesia are going to finish the map with plenty of time to spare.
I think it's safe to say Amnesia are winning the mirror. Everything is just going better for them. Ult usage, positioning. Matson seems to be on fire tonight, especially when you're using that ultimate. For this last map, Dapper Dynasty do have more chances. It is a 1st to 4, as you can see up on the top of your screen. You make the difficult choice. Go off the mirror. I think that is your only chance, because no way, especially when you go into another escort map, one where Amnesia collected. In reverse. Doing like things with his hair. That was kind of cool. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if it was intended, but it still was cool regardless. Going back to my point though, Dapper Dynasty, they have seen 4 maps now where they have seen their mirror fail. And I think second map, maybe it failed, maybe it didn't, considering that Amnesia technically didn't mirror, but you know.
Yeah.
You have to swap it up for this 5th one. I think no choice. It may be hard, but that's your only chance at victory here.
Yeah, and now we're going to be in a situation here where they are going to bring us over to Escort, which unfortunately, when I think of a map type where Sigma's very good, unfortunately, I think of Escort. But I think their options are honestly a little varied for what they can actually do here. Like, obviously, Circuit Royale, that's where you want to go to if you want to try to put somebody in on the hit scan. Shabali can be more heavily brawl-focused, so if you wanted to run something a little more aggressive outside of this Sigma, maybe you want to run the Ramatra, the Orisa, you could definitely do that as well. And obviously, Watch Point Gibraltar, very heavy on the dive, so if you wanted to go over to a dive formation, you could do that as well. But I think the problem in lies is Dapper Dynasty. Do they actually have that ability to flex? Sure, they come out on the Genji, they come out on the Junker Queen, but that doesn't mean that they have the flexibility. That's just desperation at the end of the day. So I don't know what that's going to mean for this team and what they're going to pick here, because honestly, like, your backs are fully against the wall. It might just be best to go with what you're most comfortable with at this point, honestly.
Digging your heels in the sand, I guess, would be a good word for it. And if you want to do that, Circuit Royale is Sigma's map. It's always been Sigma's map, the ability to reach the high ground, use that shield. Wow, that's where we're going to head. So, worst comes to worst, for Dapper Dynasty, it's going to be another Sigma mirror. At least I think it should be. I mean, May Sojourn could plenty work on this map, especially on that first point and that third point. Are there adaptations? We need adaptations, Dapper Dynasty. If you want to go into that fifth map, want to go into that sixth map, or I guess the sixth map and the seventh map, those are what's needed to change things up, to win the map. Otherwise, you're just looking at another defeat.
Yeah, and like the biggest thing for this team, and this is the big thing with a lot of escort hybrid maps, is that very first point. Like, that's normally the big thing you have to break through to get some momentum, and that is a very, very long stretch on that first point. In fact, not just down the original alley, like through the streets, but when you get out into the open, it's the exact same way. It's so easy to be shut down, as we're to see Amnesia starting on the defense. Madsen's going to be over on that Widowmaker. Brian going to be on the Hanzo. As we kind of see right now, Pumko is over on that Hanzo to match. Taking Wallet, we'll have to see when they get out of there, but I would be slightly surprised if they stayed on the Sojourn. It's not a bad pick, but you need somebody to be able to contest Madsen, because if they just have another day at the shooting range, I'm sorry, this might not go very far.
Yeah. I mean, Madsen has been clicking heads pretty well. Yeah. So I think Dawes is going to have to maneuver that shield pretty well. You're going to have to play around these sight lines very, very crucially, because Madsen is not going to give you any room to breathe here. See if Pomko and Brian, they still on each other's mirror here. Who is going to be the winner at the end there?
Yep, and this is going to come down to that very first pick, because Dapper Dynasty will be able to push for a sizable amount of time. Even though they lose Pufa, they still have the ability to play this corner. They still have the ability to poke little by little. Dapperman still has all that healing coming from 4, so they shouldn't really go down, unless there's just a series of unfortunate events like Discord, Headshot, Rock, all that good stuff. So Dapper Dynasty just going to take that quick reset and just be poking around, honestly. This is the game. Gotta find the first pick if you're Dapper Dynasty.
Gotta wait for your opponent to come. Ooh, that Hanzo nerf to the headshot, saving Taken Wallet there. It actually forces Brian back, gives over the high ground to Dapper Dynasty. Not really going to use it well, considering Madsen clicks ahead. They are looking for more. But Taken Wallet, I mean, you have to amp yourself up so you can get that ability to fire the railgun shot on over to Madsen. But the fact that a player's down makes that so much harder.
Yeah, and you kind of see up there, they're trying to survive on that top left area. They are all going to manage to escape, so they get another reset here, and they still have plenty of time. Still have a lot of time. You have your window online. Rocket, surprisingly, Rocket doesn't have theirs online. 4 is going to have theirs on first and foremost, but Taken's going to be taken out. So now it's another rough situation where the DPS of Amnesia are just not giving Dapper the ability to even get into the fight in the first place, as Taken Wallet is going to finally budge and head over to match the Widowmaker.
I don't think you're gonna. Okay. Maybe we don't need the Widow match. Maybe if Pomku can open things up, force everything back, use that shield. So either Widowmaker kind of has to SMG the shield or wait for it to go back. I think everything's working out here. As long as another pick doesn't happen, Rocket's gonna make sure that can't get the high ground as Widow. Things are working out.
That is really far back, and oh no, that's gonna be a really bad situation. In fact, they're gonna have to invest, but they go to the wrong side. Pufa not able to find them, but you are going to manage to find Dolls, who's in a bad position, but Nox is also in a really bad position. The Flux going to come online, going to catch on the absolute zero. So now you have to come together on another target. You get Matson extremely low, and the Dapper just stops shooting them for some reason. So now they need to come together on on Rocket to be able to take them out. So that first point will eventually be capped by Dapper Dynasty, pulling that one out. A bit messy. I think you got past the hardest part. I think that first point is 100% the hardest part to get.
Yeah, I mean, Matson got neutered very early on. You had the Sheila, you had that opening engagement from Pomku, so Matson has a lot less bodies to actually distract all of Dapper Dynasty. And now the second point is a little bit harder to work with, especially when you don't have any ground to actually work with. But Matson does have that in for sight, and I think taking Wallet playing a little bit farther back is going to be that safer play. But now they've got those in for sights, and they want this opening pick so bad.
I appreciate the courage of taking Wallet to go up in the air despite Matson still having that sight ready to go. And now Brian actually is going to get a ton of pressure instead, but they are going to manage to survive. Both Immortality Fields going to be taken out, so no second chances for either of these teams. As right now, just looking for that opening pick to be able to get this fight going, and it's going to be Brian that's going to find the opening one. Hufa going to be down. Pumko going to fall directly after the fact, and now Dapper just needs to get picked off and reset for this next fight.
Your Hanzo is so pivotal on the second point. With essentially only straight areas to work with, there's really no high ground, low ground maneuverability, maybe besides that dip to Brian's right. You have to get something done as the Hanzo. And now Pomku swapped onto the Genji. It's Pufa again!
Oh,
was it three times? You had the opening pick, you had the one just a fight ago, and now that again, it's gonna kneecap their ability to get that Transcendence, and I think more importantly, just waste some time.
Like that's the pros and cons of having a Zenyatta, because Noct goes down after the fact as well. His Zen is fantastic to be able to counter something like the Dragon, like the Flux, but they're one of the easiest characters to hit with a headshot. So unfortunately, that's going to prove bad for both teams as the Flux going to come online again, going to find absolutely nobody, but in return, Doll's going to find two of their own. The Dragon's going to come online, going to run down through the center, going to split them off temporarily. Right now, Dapper just needs to be able to survive, as we are going to see Noct use their own in the process. Again, Dapper Dynasty going to be wiped away here. Just got to take the quick reset. They invest a lot, and it just does not pay off. At least, you know, Dapperman does give themselves a little bit of a prize and a little bit of progress in the meanwhile.
Here's that all-important Widow duel. Both Infrasight should be popped pretty soon. And Madsen playing a little bit forward, does have that stairwell of which you kind of get an angle on the spawn, immediately hop back up, have that safety. But as we reach 60 seconds, it's starting to tick. Ults are going to be that much more pivotal. Nobody's really got anything. I think Pomku's Blade may be that one thing that this team can rely on.
Yeah, but Pomko cannot go down either. They're getting a lot of pressure. In fact, Dapperman getting a lot of pressure. This whole team just getting a ton of pressure. They're shutting off any angle that Dapper wants to try to take. And now Taken might have to use this site here in a moment just to be able to get an advantage on this fight, to be able to narrow down where every single person is at. But just going to hold on to it for the time being. But this is final fight, so you don't want to hold on to any ult, as the Flux is going to come online for Dawes. And eventually that's going to lead to the wipe of the rest of Dapper Dynasty. But because of how quick that was, you do have an opportunity to potentially touch one more time.
I don't think you can touch. You can't do anything about it. You have to give up the Flux just to touch. And I think
if they even make it,
they are gonna make it.
But that's not enough. That doesn't count as an OT. That's before the before the 3-second mark, so it's not gonna count.
Yeah, they weren't gonna win. Like, even if they touched, they had desperation. Hey, it was just gonna be trickling one by one. Dapperman didn't have any health. It was over once we saw those first two kills happen.
Yeah, but unfortunately, in this situation, you don't have a choice elsewise. This is your livelihood on the line here, so you kind of do just have to push in and hope for the best, hope to make it. And unfortunately, you have to throw away the ultimate just to be able to touch the point. It's such an unfortunate situation, and now we see how far they get it, because the one thing you can kind of give to Dapper Dynasty is they get past that very first point, which is very difficult to be able to break through. And the second point in its own right is very hard to break through as well. So honestly, I think Dapper's thing is, I think they have to hold first point. I think there is no other way around it. You have to hold that, and if you do end up giving that first one up, I don't know what you do from there, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be a snowball type of thing, where if you give up that first point, second point's probably going to follow. So it's going to be a dangerous game for Dapper Dynasty. Their playoff could end right here. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for them, barely scraping out wins, getting that upset, but a 6 over a 2. It's a lot. Funny enough, it's barely under a 3, but I think that one seed difference might be the one thing that really hurts them all the way in the end.
Yep. But now, Dapper Dynasty, everything on the line right here and now. For the time being, Amnesia gonna just be pushing, looking for that opening pick to set things ablaze. And Dapper man already gets so blow up. Pumko manages to find 2 of their own in that instance. So now they're able to shut down some of these numbers, but you do not want to go down. And unfortunately, they are going to go down. So now, Amnesia gonna be able to take the quick reset, but never mind. Rocket goes down. And now you see the supports try not to stay in the line of fire. Mattson gonna have to drop out for the time being and take it finally into action. Takes Mattson out of the fight.
Yeah, there's those opening picks. Dapper Dynasty needs them badly. But Mattson's sticking on that Widowmaker. Here, the important thing is that Dapper Dynasty's not giving any room for the Widowmaker to really set herself up. No sight lines to really be. Dapper Man gets so low, and they have to peek this angle now, which will be peeking the Hanzo, peeking that Widowmaker. So they have to thread back and forth, and if they slip up, this cart is going to be able to push back, but Pomku strikes!
Yeah, not going to be down again, and that means it's going to take even longer to get that Transcendence online. And now, Pomko is going to be able to have the blade for this next fight coming up here, and they're going to wipe them away. So now, a minute and a half already taken off. Amnesia likely going to have to throw in a heavy investment as Brian's going to go over to the Mei, and you might need both of these ultimates just to win this next fight. And you're not even going to have the beat or the Transcendence for Pomko either for the blade.
It might be worth it to try to invest yourself to get you out of this position, to get you beyond the bridge, because it's a different type of stuck once you're there. TPing straight behind Nax is not long for this earth.
Blade, here it comes online, looking for somebody, searching for ghosts, unfortunately, but in the end, it is going to pay off. Pomko is going to go down, but that is going to be the win of Dapper Dynasty. Pomko should be able to get back quickly as well, but I'm not sure if you can hold. You can't hold that same position anymore. You just have to play back and wait.
Pomku looks so much more comfortable on the Genji.
So much more.
They are playing aggressive, but they have the support to play aggressive. And already through this minute 30, the amount of kills that they've been able to, the assassination is unbelievable. Rocket's gonna fall, and now just the horde descends on this team. They have to dedicate Trans.
Oh, there's no way that Noct uses Transcendence in a 5v3 situation, and now, again, those mistakes coming back, Pomko is going to drop those, so, Dapper, now in a situation where they really do have to back off now. Brian's gonna have to freeze, you don't want to get walled off, and Dawes is on the Reinhardt, and they're probably gonna go Lucio? Oh my gosh, Amnesia, what are you cooking?
Desperation. I think that's what they've got. The Ryan is falling off. You push them off the high ground. That's the successful bit of this push, which now you're going to be able to get it over the bridge. I think step 1 is done. Now it's steps 2 through however long, which is keeping your tank alive, keeping Pomku alive, who's taking even more damage. And now with the Simmei, it's going to be brutal to play up against.
Window online, and they're in a weird situation now. Taking ball, gonna throw that in, gonna find one. Everybody gonna get out of the freeze, and Taken has found a second, looking for a third. They've got it, make it 4. He must have changed up the names because it's Taken. Who's gonna get themselves to 5K? Dapper Dynasty now going to push up. They don't want to let anybody touch this point, and it's really just down to Mattson to set up a TP for them to get them there. And now they're gonna invest heavy with the wall. Not even gonna be able to make it. Dapper Dynasty trying to close this out right here to keep themselves alive in the series, but Pomko going to go down with Bufa. delivering some revenge. Dapper Dynasty pull off the near impossible and keep themselves alive in the series.
Wow. I did not expect that. I have a solution to their problems. Keep Pomku on the Genji. Please. They look so much better. Oh my god. Like the Mei mirror, it was absolutely Amnesia who was on top. And this play by Taken Wallen is definitely one that was very, very impressive. But it always felt like Pomku was getting outmatched by Brian. They did have some good opening picks as the Hanzo, but Dapper Dynasty's attack was so-so. It wasn't just the Genji that really did help them out on the attack. I just think that Pomku feels better, which is why the team feels comfortable in general.
I 100% agree with that, because we're seeing this situation with Dapper Dynasty where I kept alluding into it the entire time. For everything that I've seen, the Sigma comp is their comp. And we got to the situation where we wondered, is this team going to be able to flex around when push comes to shove? And clearly they've proven that putting Gumgo over on this Genji, that's definitely a call that they're willing and ready to make. And now, I think they've unlocked a set of keys to be able to potentially pull this one off. The question is how is Amnesia going to react to that situation where Dapper now has the momentum in their favor? They figured out how to shut this style down, so now Amnesia, they're the ones that have to answer back.
It is a different map that we have to go to, though. It's going to be Amnesia's pick on match point.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to get over the edge? Because they can make the decision to go to an escort map that maybe lends itself more to an anti-Sigma playstyle. Genji gets neutered. We could potentially see an Oasis, a Nepal of sorts. I think with Nepal, you do have these close encounters. You have to force yourself onto the point rather than just playing outside, playing a little poke. That could be an area where we could be headed as well. I don't think we'll see Lijiang. I think that's going to be too helpful to how Dapper Dynasty plays, especially with the Genji. But it is Amnesia's playstyle. We don't know their true strengths, their true weaknesses. They have the decision whether or not we head to a final escort map or whether we're done right here.
Yeah, and we're going to find that out as they're going to be taking us over to Nepal with their map pick. We saw earlier they started on Samoa. They took that 2-0, and now once again being able to select and go to Nepal, where I think, I don't want to say we're going back to the Sigma Mirror matchup. I do think if you're Dapper Dynasty, I think especially if you go to a map like Shrine, you go to something like Sanctum, I think you probably want to try and keep this Genji. Like, I don't know if, because Amnesia,
Please,
I feel like they're going to go.
I'm begging you to keep the Genji.
Because I feel like Amnesia likely will stay that same exact Sigma style comp. Not the one they ran on Circle Royale, but the one we've seen throughout the entire series with that Mei and that Sojourn, because it is still effective in shutting down Dapper Dynasty, and that Mei especially is going to be very effective against the Genji. So Dapper Dynasty, honestly, might be in a situation where, again, they have to try to pull something out here, because Amnesia, they see the card now, and there's a good chance they're going to be ready for it this time.
It seems that Amnesia's weaknesses have been shown. Dapper Dynasty's strength has been revealed. Their DPS definitely have the ability to compete, but will they? Is the real question when it comes down to all of it. It is going to be Sanctum. This is going to be the first thing. I think this is the Iris. I think it got revealed in the anime short that what this is the Iris. I don't know if I read into that wrong. Did you watch the anime series, the like 4-parter?
I think I watched the first or second one. I unfortunately have a terrible memory, so I'm not going to be able to recall that. But you know what? We're going to call it as fact here live on stream as Amnesia. Brian, I know you're baiting. You don't have to do this to us. You don't have to do this to us. Just go back. Go back to the Mei. We know what's already happening here. Taken and Mott Messin. Going to TP them out, head over to the Sojourn, and we're going to see that mirror matchup same as before. Wow.
I'm sad.
I am too.
I'm sad because I don't.
I'm sorry.
Pomku is not going to be able to compete with Brian. I think the walls are just a little off. The right clicks from Brian are absolutely crucial. This Mei wall is not going to do much because everybody is on this right side. And Dapper Dynasty, they do have this high ground. Boop comes through. It's not going to be able to clean anything up, though.
Yeah, Dapper Dynasty in a situation where it's going to be really hard to push up. They're looking for the boop, and there goes one off the side. Pomko, but Poofa finds one in return, and arguably one that's a little bit more valuable as long as Dapper Man can stay alive. And they're going to be boop so close to the edge. Not being taken out quite yet for being able to stay alive and keep them going. And that boop is going to be massive. Going to push away Poofa temporarily as this fight is still alive and strong. But Dapper is in a really good position to be able to take this point first. But it's honestly just Knock that is causing an egregious amount of stall. But eventually, Dapper going to get that first point. And Amnesia wants to make sure to keep everybody alive here for this next push.
You have to group up if you're Amnesia. Like, there was a desperation type of push, but now you're all together as a unit. You're going to be able to push Dapper Man back, but immediately that window from Rocket is going to do a ton of damage to force you back, and Dawes should not live here.
No, Dawes eventually going to be taken out. A lot of focus went on to Poofa as well. We kind of saw that when they went for that boop. So now, Pomko going to have to try to freeze, try to stall things out here. The boop nearly manages to get on as they're going to see the aggression. Poofa has an option whether or not to get aggressive with the beat, but I feel like they're going to have to avoid doing so. Just got to focus on the stall, try to focus on one more potential boop, but no one going to be found as Dapper Dynasty going to clock that up to 38%. But the bright side, only end up using the window on both sides. They are going to have a lot coming up on both sides.
Taken Wallet, we saw what they have the ability to do. But if you remember, Mattson also wasn't on the Sojourn. There really wasn't a mirror. And I think overall, it really has been Mattson. A great use of abilities on both sides. But Dapper Dynasty, they stay alive, they stay healthy, and they still have 3 ultimates that they can use.
Yeah, now they're going to freeze, and now they're not going to have the backup for this one. That wall going to come through. Taken has found one, but eventually going to be traded out. Dapper getting super low, being kept up. It's going to flux up in the air. Going to find one member as the beat's going to be thrown in return, but that freeze is going to fall sanctumly on top of 2 of their members. They have to try to keep them up, but it's going to be a nice barrier to be able to keep that healing away. Rocket now going to be in the corridor of death, trying to jump around, survive, playing a nice little game. Unfortunately, Dapper Man not here to play games anymore as the rest of Amnesia going to back out. Dapper Dynasty only allowing 49%.
Ooh. Mattson going down that much, not to follow as well. I think with the dual combo, it's going to make it sting a lot less. But Dapper Dynasty, they're going to be able to continue to get ult charge, continue to get ult percentage. And so far, keeping your foot in the door is the best thing here. Dapper Dynasty establishing your dominance is going to be the best thing here. The Maywall, where's it coming from? Isolating that Sigma is going to be big. It forces the ammo field out, too.
Yeah, end up going high. I was a little scared there for Dawes for a moment, but now you kind of force Amnesia in this position where right now we're coming down to that final fight territory, and a lot of this is going to come down to, is Dapper Man going to get this flux on in time? Already 80%, but they're sitting in front of a window. All the healing getting dumped into them. They need to be kept up, but unfortunately the healing is just not there. If you're Dapper Dynasty, you just need to take the reset, die on this point, get it to 99%. Don't use anything as well, as they are going to be able to scramble together. Take a bit more time away. Gonna get that to about 97% likely. So gonna have a lot of ultimates, and Amnesia did have to use a couple of good ones to be able to take that away.
Yeah, it's 1 fight territory for them.
Yeah.
You got Blizzard, you got Flux. Dump everything. I'm gonna be honest. Just dump everything on your opponent. Use it well, but make sure that you can get utilization off of that. The Flux is gonna go forward. It does not find anyone, which is killer, but can the Blizzard follow up on that?
I just physically saw not go back to Blizzard. That rock gonna be big, but unfortunately, there's a good chance that the damage is already going to be done. But you have to invest. You have to invest. If they're gonna get rid of Taken before the beat fully infest, Dapper Dynasty had this in the palm of their hands, and now I don't even think they're going to have the opportunity to get a proper touch on this point.
The Flux and Blizzard combining to getting 1, maybe, is a killer to your play. You're going to be able to touch, but as everything, it's really not the worst that it is, because Taken Wall's down, Pomku's down, ult has been popped, it's curtains on round 1.
That's just a really unfortunate situation. You can kind of feel all the energy leaving my voice because it really, really should have been Dapper Dynasty's to win there. And unfortunately, I feel like you do have to be aggressive with the style of comp sometimes, but I feel like they were just using too much too early. I feel like you could have just gone that left side originally and forced the fight there, and you could have just simply walled off DAWs, throw the freeze on top of them, and then save the flux for the supports. I feel like, and again, it's hindsight. I'm a caster on the desk. I'm not fighting for my life in a 3-2 series. You know, it's an entirely different story. But in that situation, you have to have the wherewithal to be able to save these ultimates for the right time. Even if you have the big advantage and it is final fight, you still have no excuse not to use those ults properly.
Yep. As we now head to what could be the final point for Dapper Dynasty. Still bringing out the mirror. It's going to be... No, it's not a mirror.
Oh, they're going to keep it.
They're going to stick with the sim. I'm a fan. And I'm a fan who's rewarded with victory as Rocket falls. And now the aggression should be enough to win.
Yeah, and now Rocket needs to try to... Or Brian needs to be able to try to get out. Gets super low. Going to get rocked for a moment. Super low. But not able to get them. But Dapper Dynasty still should be able to cap the first point to start things out here. Now, Amnesia is in a tough scenario where they are going to have to play fast, because the longer the fight goes on, the more charge taken is going to get. As they're going to TP onto this... Oh, they're going to get aggressive again! Never mind, we're just going to get right back into it. We're going to see the aggression, the wall, going to be brought onto DAWs. A lot of the energy is being drained into them, but Madsen going to find one of their own. The boop going to keep people away long enough for DAWs to be able to find a pick of their own to bring this to their advantage. And now, Dapperman going to be burnt away. Amnesia going to solve that case very quickly. Only going to be 25% for Dapper Dynasty.
Still sticking with the sim, though. It's a good play as long as your target isn't literally getting pumped with every single heal known to man. Yes. Because you're all trying to isolate this one target, you also can't get healed while also doing damage at the same time as that Baptiste. So it's a hard trade-off. That did work initially for Dapper Dynasty, but they're not able to take away DAWs. If they can separate, especially these healers, that might be big. And the Maywall is killer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but Dapperman is going to be able to catch them temporarily. The window needs to be invested as that freeze is going to come online. So many members caught. You have to hold on to this window. You need to simply get off the cliff, reset. 35% and counting for Amnesia. Likely just 2 fights away from securing this, but Dapper Dynasty, honestly, this needs to be the fight right here. Quite honestly.
What can the Maywall actually isolate from? It'll help you engage onto the point. Maybe you can use it to shut down the window that Rocket is going to deploy, but depending on where that window is, too, it might not help you at all. Up comes the Flux. Poop is going to ult. A lot of ults just going out in general, honestly.
Yeah, but Dapperman does end up getting taken out of their Flux, and now it's just, there's just ults everywhere. But eventually, Pumpko going to find the very first one. Daw is going to fall directly after the fact. Dapper need to clean the rest of this up very quickly. You don't want to let Amnesia get into the 80+ territory. You're only going to allow 75, so you still give yourself that one fight room as well, as both teams investing almost everything. But Madsen, oh no, that is an overclock online.
I mean, I kind of said throw everything last point. It did that, didn't work out. Works here. Madsen goes down. That's going to be a good 15 to 20% that you're going to be able to drain off simply because Amnesia does not have a core defense that they can really rely on. And it is going to allow Dapper to start getting some ult charge. If they can really ramp it up, that once you get to the 99%, then you have ultimates that you can dedicate. But Brian and Madsen, they've got ults that are going to come online and have the ability to use, and that could be the difference.
They did it again. They did the same exact thing. It didn't work the first time around. They tried a second time. Dapperman gonna have to go in the immortality field, eventually gonna be taken out. Dapper needs to die on this point. Everybody needs to just simply die on this point. Take that last second reset, because this is gonna be your final fight on the line. Oh, no. And Poofa's gonna die mega late. So now, Take It Walt gonna just have to set up the TP. Pomko gonna have to touch as Tracer. This is desperation kicking in now.
It's not going to be like Doomfist, Lucio Wrecking Ball type desperation. They have 10 seconds that they can work with. And you can tell Amnesia are doing a great job at keeping them away, but they are going to be able to touch, actually get a good fight. And with Bastion, Ammo Field is actually dedicated to the Bastion is big.
Yeah, but the freeze comes online, and it manages to get on top of them. Madsen gonna help finish them off. They may be called Amnesia, but you'll never forget the name, as Amnesia moves on to the grand finals.
Transcendence Tier looking to establish themselves as the top dogs, and I think right now they have earned it. We saw how they really dominated the Sigma matchup, and a lot of that does come down to this man right here. Mattson coming through. We saw just their absolute phenomenal performances on the previous map. The cleanup here so they can actually take care of Dapper Dynasty. It's a force heal. And that Circuit Royale map, we saw something for Dapper Dynasty. And they didn't transfer that over to Nepal. And I am heartbroken.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of scenarios where I felt like they could have, but we talk about on Sanctum, where that very last fight, where they had the 3 ults versus the 0 on the side of Amnesia, just not able to find anything on 2 of those ultimates and just end up losing that fight. And if you want to talk about, when we got over to Shrine, unfortunately, we had the situation where they tried twice to try to basically just TP into their backline and try to take them out, but both times it fails, and I'm really surprised they tried for it a second time. I understand you're scared of Mattson having that ultimate. I would be absolutely terrified, but I think that ended up being, unfortunately, a bit of a fatal error. And, I appreciate the aggression. You have to be sometimes, but it's just a really unfortunate situation that it doesn't work out. But I will quickly say that this team has accomplished a lot this season. They should be extremely proud of getting to the semifinals, because they are a very tough team of people that have put in a good amount of time into this season and trying to improve and really try to push this comp as far as they can. So a lot of credit to them for making it to the semifinals.
As we get to see some of the replays from earlier on Samoa, you can see Mattson earlier on, they were clicking heads, maybe found a collateral or 2 with 4 trying to get down Mr. President, but it's still just Amnesia rolling on through in Samoa. Dapper Dynasty obviously putting up a fight in some of these rounds. This was the first map that they won. And knocked. Well, they tried their best, and here they definitely tried their best to escape and gets caught out again.
Yeah, we saw this big flux. They honestly had to do this if they wanted to try to really solidify this fight win. Ufa went down, so they invested, and it ends up really paying off. Dapper Dynasty kind of able to wipe away that initial mistake of pushing too far, too fast, with too little. And we do see this from Brian as well. That freeze, Brian was not afraid to die just to get out a freeze to be able to secure the fight. They were very willing to put their life on the line just to make sure that that fight was going to be winnable.
Oh, this was the play. This was the play of the night. At least what you and I, the way we were reacting, I think Servalsa once again did come down to that lack of pressure, and that was fixed. Once we went on to these other maps, you saw, especially on the last fight, the way Mattson went down, they made sure that they did not have the same amount of impact as they did previously. Even on Circuit Royale, the Widowmaker got a couple headshots on Mattson. I think it was the first pick throughout the entire map. Potentially went over down to Mattson, but it's still the rest of these players. I mean, Nock, Rocket, Dawes, Brian, all great players in their own right. So even if you take one down, you still have 4 more that you got to deal with.
Yep, and we did see the last gasp of Dapper Dynasty on this map as well, where they ended up making this Genji work with the Sigma style. They end up bringing themselves back to that 2-3 in the series. But just out the gate, we saw the unfortunate situation, the boobs coming in from both sides. A lot of aggression for Dapper Dynasty, but I think at times, sometimes that was to the unfortunate situation of Dapper Man getting put out in situations that, unfortunately, no matter how much healing you pump into them, unfortunately, there is such a thing as too much damage, and we saw Amnesia able to deal that in stride. They were able to simply section people off, take them out one by one, and claim a lot of these fights just simply from doing that, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we have finished with our game today, and so has the other stream. We can take a look at the bracket of what the Transcendence Tier Grand Finals will be. It's going to be MI7 versus Amnesia, a 1 seed versus a 2 seed. I mean, they're these high seeds for a reason. They are expected to get here. And Hunter, you don't seem very pleased at this.
The script writers really went crazy with this one, didn't they?
No, it really did. It was amazing.
No, but these are, I mean, seeding aside, these are the two teams that you really think about when you kind of think about who was going to get to the grand finals. Obviously, I think, La Espada was also in that conversation. Classified was having a big come up from behind story as well, but I'm not surprised at all to see MI7 and Amnesia here at the very end against each other. And now that battle's going to be a very interesting one, because that's something I want to predict down the line. But in this moment, I really don't know how that's going to go down, and it's very exciting to not have in your mind who you think is going to win. That's when things can get very excited, very chaotic, and that's sometimes the best kind of Overwatch you'll get.
But with that bracket aside, that is it for us tonight. It was, it was a good game. I loved seeing Dapper Dynasty battle their way back, get close to coming all the way back, but Amnesia clearly established himself as the better team, and I think fighting for a spot as the champion of the Transcendence Tier is only their right.
Oh yeah, 100%, and this ends up being a really good day, but of course, the week is not over quite yet. It's only Tuesday, so of course, we're going to have the Ascendant Tier coming to you tomorrow with their own semifinals, and then of course, on Thursday, we're going to have the Discord Tier do their semifinals, and of course, the week after will be the Grand Finals, but more info will come about that, but that is going to be it for tonight. But of course, we cannot get away from this without thanking everybody that has managed to make this fantastic. Of course, my lovely co-caster next to me, LiteRose, and of course, our producer, Hippy, and all of our observers, whether that's Orange, Kryy, Vaati, Beam, everyone put in a lot of effort, and it's a very crazy time when we get to these playoffs, but everyone's working their butts off, and we're happy to put on the show for you, and we're really happy that we had a close matchup tonight as well. A really good match here in the semifinals. But yeah, I just if you wanna close this out,
I guess I will bring us out. You're the man who brought us in. I thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream, and like Hunter said, we've got more action coming at you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you then.
I'll give you what you want. I've been waiting time. I'll give you what you want.